The peak of autumn colors framed against the clear blue Indiana sky. Oh my, this defines a college football Saturday under 60-degree temperatures. A sellout of 80,000 at Notre Dame Stadium to witness the renewal of one of the game's most significant rivalries. The Cadets of Army challenge the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. And this is all about tradition. It's Rockney and the Gipper, and it's Leahy and Red Blake. It's Mr. Inside, Mr. Outside, and what a day as Army and Notre Dame meet once again.
Yeah, it really is a great rivalry, and for the Cadets, they're outmanned here. And Notre Dame is a favorite. They should be. They're bigger. They're faster. They have more blue-chip players. But, we talked to maybe 15 Cadets this week. Every single one of them believe they can win this game. And they have the great equalizer, the wishbone offense, which continues to give Notre Dame problems, has for years.
And in the recent history, Notre Dame against the military academies facing the wishbone have barely survived. How about 3 years ago, Ron Lashinsky of Army stopped just short of completing this two-point conversion. The hit by Covington, and Notre Dame survives 28-27. They didn't 2 years ago when Air Force won on a field goal in overtime, 2017. And only last year, Navy's Chris McCoy's last play pass deflected off Irish safety Deke Cooper's helmet, dropped into the hands of Navy's Pat McCrew, and McCrew almost made it in as hearts fluttered. Notre Dame survived 21-17. So the wishbone is troublesome.
It really is. And I think for Army to win this game, three things have to happen. 35 minutes time of possession, that is critical for them. Fewer turnovers, one or less than the Irish. And I think they only throw 12 passes a game, but they need 2 or 3 big pass plays.
Well, a year ago, Notre Dame was 1-4. They're 4-1 this year, and that's created amongst the alums some talk about a major bowl game.
Well, they're not a great team yet. They're an improving team, and they're improving on both sides of the football. I remember early in the year, they were really just kind of Autry Denson's team, but they've mixed in wide receivers. They've mixed in other backs. And this guy, Joey Goodspeed, 2 weeks ago against Arizona State, 109 yards rushing. So they have the full complement of offense. I think by the end of the year, Dick, this is a chance to be in a very good football team and perhaps on the way to Pasadena for the Rose Bowl.
Well, we're glad you've joined us here in South Bend. Army, Notre Dame will have the opening kickoff in just a moment. What a day for football. South Bend, Indiana. Army and Notre Dame. And joining us down on the field, Jim Gray.
Thank you, Dick. Well, this is a rivalry that began back in 1913, and while it's probably outlived its usefulness, it is rich in tradition and history. And since the Army has joined Conference USA, this could signal the end of this long-time rivalry. It's because till the year 2002, they are not on Notre Dame's schedule. Now, Notre Dame has dominated the Army and all of the military academies since they started playing. Since 1964, they are 64-5 against the military teams, and against Army, they haven't lost since 1958. This is just the type of game that really scares Bob Davie. He says because it all looks so good on paper. What we have to remember is paper doesn't play. Dick?
All right, Jim. Bob Davie, who just turned 45 during the course of this season, against a man he knows well. In fact, he's long communicated with Bob Sutton. You saw him across the way. 48th meeting. The last win, as Jim stated, was 40 years ago when Pete Dawkins won the Heisman Award and Army prevailed 14-2. There's Bob Sutton in his 8th year at West Point. Former defensive coordinator under Jim Young with Army. He's their 31st head coach, and of course the all-time headmaster of Army football with the great Colonel Red Blake. Notre Dame won the toss and deferred, so Army to receive, and that means we'll get a look early at number 1, Rod Richardson, who is on course to set a career record at Army for kickoff return yardage. He's averaging better than 25 in his career. And probably as potent a threat in the open field as any man Army can present today. Very little wind, slightly right to left, as Hunter Smith has it teed up. Army 2-4, the Irish 4-1. Short, and into that sun, finally picked up by Brandon Rooney, and Rooney has an opening at the 30, and Rooney out across the 35 to the 38-yard line. The junior from Lake Havasu City, Arizona, 29-yard return. Now look at the principal financial group starting lineups. Ravitz, Allard, Guzman, Prihar, and Connolly, the front for Army. Johnny Goff, who has been plagued by an ankle injury, has really played only 2 complete games this year as a quarterback. Bobby Williams and John Johnson are the halfbacks. Michael Wallace, a sophomore fullback, big but probably as quick as anyone on the team. There's Joe Jurina, who's been filling in for Johnny Goff at quarterback. He's a sophomore. Expect to see him as well. First play action by Johnny Goff. Left-hander back, and he's hit from behind, and down he goes at the 29-yard line. As crashing through is Lamont Bryant.
Well, great start for Lamont Bryant. He's filling in, as you mentioned, for Grant Irons. And again, a surprise opening play by the Army. They only throw 12 passes a game. They open up with a pass call. But Lamont Bryant playing their what they call their rush linebacker position makes a great play. Got off a block and made the sack.
Spotted at the 29-yard line. Bryant, his first start this year from Georgetown, South Carolina. Grant Irons banged up. May not play today. So second and long for the Cadets. The pitch to John Johnson, and the halfback is across the 35 and back to about the original line of scrimmage. It'll be third and about 10 as Devron Harper makes a stop. Anthony Weaver, a son of a retired Army sergeant, a freshman, starts on that front wall with Antoine Jones and Brad Williams defensively. Minor, Friday, Howard, and Bryant the backers, with Williams and Harper at the corners, Cooper and Driver at safety. Third down 10. Tight end split away to the right. That's Williams in motion. He takes the toss, almost complete toss, and has no chance as he's smothered by Deke Cooper from the secondary.
Dick, really a good opening defensive series for Notre Dame, and I think a couple points have to be made. It's terrible. It's very difficult to adjust to the wishbone. However, Notre Dame has had a week off, 2 weeks to prepare for this, as well as their students didn't have classes this week. They really practiced twice a day getting ready for this wishbone.
Graham White is the punter for Army, and he's averaging 45.5 yards a kick. He's on course to setting an Army single season record. You see they set up in a cluster huddle, and there's the kick end over end, finally fielded by Autry Denson near the 5-yard line, and here comes Army, and he's down at the 10, and the flag is down with it. So good coverage by the Cadets, and we'll check the flag. It's thrown where one might expect a hold against the return team, the Irish. It's Stucker, the fullback, Craig Stucker, in on the play. 56 yards on the punt, 4 on the return, and now the signal against Notre Dame. That'll be half the distance, and we'll take it to the 5-yard line. So Bob Davie will see his team start deep in its own end.
12. Here's the flag. The end of the run is here. On the return, illegal block in the back, on the receivers. Half the distance to the goal from the from the end of the run. First down.
And the ball indeed spotted at the 5-yard line. That's where Notre Dame will strike its first play when we return. What a time to be in the Midwest. Glorious Saturday afternoon as Notre Dame starts from its 5-yard line. Just underway in the opening quarter. Jarius Jackson, the quarterback, maturing in this his senior year, the first year as a full-time starter. 220-pounder from Tupelo, Mississippi. Jamie Spencer, Autry Denson behind him, and it's Denson. Hit at the 7-yard line, short gain as Army's Jamar Mullen up from the corner to make the first hit. Here's the Notre Dame offensive line, almost 300-pound average. Pettigrew, Wisney, Randy, Ritter, and Rosenthal. With Jarius Jackson, the quarterback, Denson, one of the all-time great runners here, second all-time. Spencer, the blocking back, Bobby Brown and Malcolm Johnson, the wideouts, and Jabari Holloway, the tight end. Second down 8. Johnson for only a yard as the Army defense stout inside, and Derek McNally from a strong safety supporting. Hageman, Thiele, Kozak, and King, the front four for the Cadets, with Suitano, King, Weaver, only a sophomore, but by far their leading tackler, Mullen and McNally, Rowland and Coxum in the secondary.
And this offensive line for Notre Dame outweighs the defensive line for the Cadets by about 50 pounds a man.
Third down and call it 8. Jackson, play action, under pressure, has a man open and complete at the 22-yard line to Bobby Brown. Only the third catch of the year for Brown, good enough for a first down, 15 yards on the play.
Hey Dick, the development of Jarius Jackson really has been astounding as we've watched him for 4 weeks now here at Notre Dame. I mean, he seems so unsettled early in the year, but he's a much calmer and settled guy and a more complete player. And, you know, he's involved into that two-dimensional guy. He can beat you running the ball. And here, a patient, I thought he was going to take off, but he waited, found the receiver over the middle. So he really has improved dramatically.
He eluded Chad Suitano. The completion. Here's Denson on the toss. Stretched wide and tackled at the 22-yard line. No gain, maybe a loss, as Derek McNally, the safety from Los Angeles, California, sophomore, made the stop. Here's your comparison.
Yeah, you know, about 250 there for Army, nearly 300 for Notre Dame. But I tell you, the Army team stunts a lot. They blitz. I mean, there's a lot of penetration. They try to stay low. And, you know, the interesting thing, you look at all these tangible things, Dick, and you say, no way Army can win this game. But I'm telling you, these guys, we talked to a bunch of them, right in our eyes today, that we're going to win this game. And they feel very, very confident. They're not intimidated, I'll tell you that about playing here.
Yeah, no surprise, the character of the Cadets. 2-yard loss on first down, so it's Jackson off play action, looking for something big. Throws under pressure, has a man deep. Incomplete to Javen Hunter. Hunter, the freshman from Orchard Lake, Michigan, was clear. Derek McNally on the blitz, however, forced Jackson perhaps to put a little extra on that throw.
The one thing is that you're going to see him go deep and him cut on the inside. But the thing about Notre Dame is they've done a wonderful job this year of running the football and some drop back passes. The next step is the play action pass. That's what this was. They're hoping to develop that part of the game. Now, Hunter had him beaten. The ball was just thrown too far inside, actually, to the wide receiver Hunter to give him a chance to catch it.
So Jackson with a play call on third down and a dozen from the Irish 21. Brown, Getherall, and Johnson, 3 wide receivers out of the shotgun. And that's whistled dead before the snap. Our referee today, this is an all Conference USA crew.
Delay game. Offense. 5 yards. Still third down.
That's R little G, but that's what he says. That's how he does it. R.G. Detillier, the referee.
We'll have to have Vanna White get him some vowels there. Just needs a few there, doesn't he?
That's right. It could be Raj or Reg.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah. Expensive, though. 5 yards against Notre Dame brings up third down, 17. Loose Cadet defense, says Jackson. Plenty of time, and he's going to go long. Incomplete as Derek McNally knocks it away from Bobby Brown, and Army has held.
Yeah, Malcolm Johnson at 6'5" is saying, give me a chance. Get it to me. He's waiting. He was open. And it was wonderful for protection there for Jarius Jackson, but he was looking deep downfield to Brown. But Malcolm Johnson has been one of those guys that's really come on the last few weeks for the Irish, and the guy they need to get the ball to.
And he's caught 19 passes, and he had set himself up right at the first down yardage, wide open. Hunter Smith, who delivered a 79-yard punt at Arizona State. Blocked! Army blocks!
By Weaver, I think.
And it's going to roll out to about the 25-yard line. So the cadet, the born cadet across the way, stand and cheer as Bob Sutton watches sophomore Lyle Weaver block the punt of Smith. And Weaver continues to be brilliant for the Cadets.
The low snap, which gave Weaver a chance. And I tell you, the one thing about Army, they are dynamic anywhere, if anywhere, on special teams. They're very good kicking, very good return. And this time they go for the block. And Lyle Weaver, who started out as a strong safety, ends up being an inside linebacker and blocks this one right up the gut.
So the Cadets take over at the Notre Dame 25-yard line. Is drilled in the backfield as charging through was Brad Williams, the junior from Orange, California, and a 5-yard loss.
Brad Williams is one of those guys that has to really step up and play better as this year goes along if Notre Dame is going to have an outstanding year. And this whole defense seems to get better each game, and Brad Williams is getting better. And they rotate. Greg Madison, the defensive coordinator, rotates about 8 different guys in that defensive front to keep people fresh for the fourth quarter.
They spotted at the 29, 2nd and 14. Goff on the toss to Richardson, and Richardson gains only a yard. Tony Driver from the secondary to make the hit.
One of the things that Bob Davie, the head coach of Notre Dame, was concerned about is how well their strong safeties, and this time it's 25, Tony Driver, are able to fight off a block, what they call it the arc block, and then make the plays. Right there, he did. He fought off the block of the wide receiver and then still made the tackle. And it's something you don't see much except when you face wishbone teams. So a key role for the strong safety, Tony Driver, today.
2 interceptions for Driver, of course, key in the Purdue win earlier this year. 3rd down and 13. The leading ball carrier for the Cadets this year to the 24, which will bring up 4th and 9 with Williams, who needs 71 yards today to move past one of the greats in Army history, Doc Blanchard, into the 13th spot all time in Army rushing.
They need a big game today from Bobby Williams if the Army's going to win this game.
Field goal try, Eric Olson, who's been good on 10 of 13 this year. This would match his longest, 41 yards. Into the hold. It is good. So the block punt leads to the successful 41-yard field goal from senior Eric Olson from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And the Cadets across the way cheer an early lead. It's 3-0 with 7:33 left in the opening quarter. For Cadets, numbering 4,000 at West Point, several hundred here in South Bend today. The great tradition of this rivalry. We were underdogs in D-Day too. Go Army. They're over a 3-touchdown underdog. Well, we go back to 1913, and in that game, Notre Dame shocked Army 35-13 when quarterback Gus DeRay and an end named Newt Rockney offered a systemized passing game. It was legal for many years, but it was the first chronicle time when the forward pass won a game and led to a big upset, 35-13 for the Irish. Eric Olson.
They do that every time. They fake the onside kick and then step back and kick it off.
If you don't respect the fake, then you're going to see the onside kick. Tony Driver deep for the Irish. 3-0 Army. High spinner inside the 5. Driver out to the 28-yard line. On comes Jarius Jackson and the Irish offense. Credit that tackle to Craig Stucker. That's 2 for him already in this opening quarter on special teams, or special forces as Army refers to it.
And they are really special. Again, Bob Sutton saying if anywhere we are dynamic on our team, it is in our special forces. And they've got the block punt already.
From the Irish 28-yard line, Malcolm Johnson and Joey Getherall out to the left. Give it to Denson. And Denson draws a crowd of Cadets led by Adisa King, the junior from Jackson, Mississippi, and David Hageman, junior of Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah, Adisa King was saying to us this week is, hey, when you tackle Autry Denson, as soon as you hit him, get ready for him to spin. He said you have to lock him up because he gains 2 or 3 extra yards when he gets hit by spinning. He said we got to rally to the football and lock him up.
3 yards on that carry. It's 2nd and 7. Give to the full tailback, and not much there for Jamie Spencer as it stacked up. Brian King, 250-pound senior from Petersburg, Virginia, made the play. The scores, Midwestern scores on our NBC ticker. Boston College 10 over Navy, 2 opponents of Notre Dame down the line.
You're curious about that Central Michigan score, the Chippewas.
Well, that'll be coming through when they get the bold, the real big games, highly rated ones. Playing Western Michigan, and there's a tie here for Bob Sutton, of course, and several of the Irish coaches. Wide open is Getherall, dangerously fast, and he's tackled at the 49-yard line by Kenny Dale Rowland after an 18-yard gain to match the number on his Irish jersey.
Well, under 6 minutes in this first quarter, but the Army defense has done a very good job of stopping Notre Dame's running game, but they have not put much pressure on Jarius Jackson. That's allowed him plenty of time in the pocket to find his wide receivers. This time, diminutive Joey Getherall catches the ball for the first down. And that's really not the strength of Army's defense, is rushing the passer and really playing well on the corners. They're a better run-stopping team.
First down Notre Dame as they visit Army territory for the first time. Jackson throws again, open again, Malcolm Johnson. And Johnson has another Irish first down at the 33. Rowland and Mullen collaborate on the tackle.
This team is a work in progress. I'm talking about Notre Dame, and we mentioned at the very beginning of the year it was all Autry Denson, but Jarius Jackson has become a much more complete quarterback. 3 complete games their last 3 contests, and just growing with confidence in the passing game.
And if fans have been following Notre Dame, Johnson, their leading receiver, 20 now catches on the year. Remember, Jackson in the first quarter was high on a lot of his throws. He just had too much adrenaline in that right arm, and now really settling into his position. And they respect him as the leader. His teammates have high regard for him. Carries this time, and trailing the play was Ron Spohr, a sophomore from Honesdale, Pennsylvania. Good play by Spohr, only 236 pounds on that defensive end spot.
He's about 238 with that clump of grass there in his hair.
He's one of 5 plebes to letter last year for Army, 5 freshmen.
Yeah, and again, what these guys do is they stunt and they hustle, and as you would expect from any of the academies, there is no quit in these guys. No matter what the score is, they're going to give you every bit of effort they have.
Second and the short 9 from Leprechaun's view. Wide and loss at the 35-yard line as Denson no chance at Lyle Weaver. He is a player, and Derek McNally forced the early pitch, but Weaver, the sophomore, 225-pounder, number 6 for Army again.
I guess when you see the wishbone every day in practice, you kind of rally to these kind of plays. Derek McNally on a quick blitz forces the quick pitch, and then Lyle Weaver is a guy that just refuses to stay blocked. I mean, this is a guy that averages 13 tackles a game, and against Houston a few weeks ago, he had 7 tackles for losses, including 3 sacks and a fumble recovery.
Weaver already with a blocked punt, and that tackle for a loss brings up 3rd down 13.
No rush again.
Looking for Johnson. There he is. First down at the 15.
Jarius Jackson is going to have to do something nice for his offensive linemen, because the offensive linemen are doing just a magnificent job of giving him a terrific place to step up and throw. And then when you have Malcolm Johnson run disciplined routes over the middle, linebackers are up there in the fray, but the protection was superb. Again, really no pressure thus far on Jarius Jackson.
20 yards on that throw. Jarius Jackson now 4 for 6, 70 yards passing in this opening quarter. Army leading 3-0. First down inside the 15-yard line. Denson. And flags go down as Denson hit at the 7. Nate Hunterton, a junior from Las Vegas, making the stop. And a penalty against Notre Dame. Timeout called by the Irish. With 3:18 remaining in the opening quarter, and Army with the early 3-0 lead.
There was a personal foul in the last play on number 71, Jerry Wisney. Face mask right there, easy call. And that'll march the Irish back outside the 20-yard line, where they've been very good this year inside the red zone. But
good. They've been superb.
Yeah.
Every invasion of the opponent's 20-yard line has resulted in some score. 16 touchdowns and 5 field goals, 21-21 for Notre Dame.
You know, like I said, this is not necessarily a dynamic Notre Dame team, but Bob Davie has these guys playing hard for 4 quarters, and they're beginning to develop their own identity. They play hard, and they want to run the football at you.
Ball at the 29. They need to get to the 4-yard line for a first down. Jackson. And no one there.
He shouldn't have thrown that one.
Looking for Denson on that swing, but cutting him off at the corner was Chad Suetano, number 89, the Army linebacker.
Yeah, that was one that would probably should have run with that one or throw that one out of bounds. He took a risk. Suetano had a chance of picking that one off. He plays, Suetano, number 89, plays there what they call their night position. And he's right down here. And then night means he kind of plays some linebacker, some defensive end, kind of another rover or monster back.
Knight
good
as
player.
in Black Knight of the Hudson.
There you go.
2nd and 25 for the Irish. Shotgun, Jarius Jackson. Steps up. Now he has to scramble. And is hit at the 22-yard line. Jamar Mullen gets up slowly after going low. Ron Spoor was there as well with Nate Hunterton.
This is where Jarius Jackson can. If you're a defensive coordinator, you're really most concerned about these kinds of plays. But once again, the cadets rally. You see 4 white jerseys around Jarius Jackson. It looked like he was going to be running for a long way. You think what he's done the first 5 games. You know, really the passing yards have been surprising for Jarius as he's gotten better and better and more efficient.
And he has more yards today than he had the entire game against Arizona State. And we have just about 3 minutes remaining in this opening quarter. They attend to cornerback Jamar Mullen with 2:59 left in the opening quarter, and Army by a field goal. A day like this, you wish you had the talent of the great Grantland Rice, the sports writer of the New York Herald Tribune. It was Rice in 1924, after watching Notre Dame's backfield of Miller, Layton, Crowley, and Stuhldreher, nicknamed them the 4 Horsemen of Notre Dame. And that was after watching the Irish beat Army 13-7, 1924. They're still working on Jamar Mullen. Looked as if he took a double hit, Patty, with his left arm trying to make the tackle, and then I think the pursuit of his teammates, somebody might have hit him in the helmet.
He's right here. We say how they rally, the cadets rally around the ball. It was his left arm that really took most of it. He got kicked, I think, in the head, but his left arm was really kind of real. Yeah, left arm did not look good.
Jim Gray has a report.
All right, Dick, they're working on Jamar Mullen right now. Dr. Dave Bankoff, the physician for the University of Notre Dame, has just walked over and told us he believes it's a broken humerus, upper left arm. He's in tremendous pain down here, but they're taking some time to put a splint on him, and they're going to x-ray him and take him back in the locker room. Dick?
All right, Jim. Mullen, the senior from Shadyside, Maryland. He grew up near the Naval Academy and the son of a retired U.S. Army NCO. Bob Sutton looks on. He's very thin in that defensive backfield and can ill afford any loss. So while they work on Jamar Mullen, we'll take a commercial break. Army leading 3-0 late in the first quarter here in South Bend. So they continue to attend to Jamar Mullen, the cornerback of Army, that injured left arm, and I believe they're going to use a stretcher to help him off the field.
You know, over there attending to him is Bob Sutton, too, the head coach of Army. Right, this is Coach Sutton, and we both went up to West Point this week, and he was saying, last Sunday he wanted to get his team started for thinking about their preparation for Notre Dame, and said he started with a thought. He said he wants our guys to fill their minds with expectations of victory, and every day he talked to his team about filling their minds with the expectations of winning. And they did. You could see it in their eyes. They really believe they can beat this Notre Dame team, and they believe that they're not intimidated.
Sutton now in his 8th year. As we mentioned, he attended Eastern Michigan, didn't play college football. He just was one of those young guys that there are many of them around the country coaching at the high school and collegiate level who weren't good enough to play college football but have been outstanding coaches. He was the defensive coordinator under Jim Young. Young 8 years the head man at Army, and then replaced Young. Final tap of appreciation to young Mullen. Always part of this game. You hate to see it. Hate to see it. So Mullen's senior year with the Cadets ends here at Notre Dame.
And you saw number 22, Andrew Burke, is filling in. And remember, it is now 3rd and 18. So if you're Notre Dame and you're going to throw the ball, maybe you think about testing Andrew Burke very quickly here.
Burke is one of the smallest, if not the smallest man in uniform today for Army. He's listed at 5'8" and just under 170, but don't believe he's quite that tall. 3rd down and 18. And Burke on the blitz. Incomplete. Great saving play by Derek McNally. Javen Hunter appeared to be open for the score. And the ball deflected in the
intercepted. They're saying maybe it was intercepted. I'm not sure it hit
Kenny
the ground.
Dale Rowland, the co-captain and senior, alertly, as everyone relaxed, picks off the deflection apparently.
Well, the officials are going to argue about this. Kenny Dale Rowland had a deflection. He actually intercepted 2 passes earlier this year on deflections.
Here's the official word.
I think the ball hit the ground.
The play had been ruled an incomplete pass. 4th down.
Well, let's have a look at the replay. I think the ball was knocked away on a great play by McNally, number 4, with his left hand, taps it away. Oh yeah, hits his ground. That's a rebound.
Yeah, we thought it hit the ground, and all of a sudden you look up and here's Rowland going the other way, and why not?
These guys are smart.
Rowland will be able to call home and tell mom in the bakery shop about that play. 39-yard field goal attempt by Jim Sanson, his longest this year, 32. 3 times he's kicked it from 32, so he's testing the length of this year. 5 for 6 to tie the game. It's long enough. It is good, and it's tied at Notre Dame 3-all.
You know, good for Jim Sanson. You know, he struggled here at Notre Dame, but he's put that all behind him this year and had a very good year thus far for the Irish. A little Peter Pan doll he keeps in his locker is bringing him good luck, I guess.
Does it look like Robin Williams or not? I guess
yeah, something like that.
Go in depth on the Irish. You get information like this, folks, if you tune in MSNBCSports.com. A special section, NBC's Notre Dame Central. It offers comprehensive coverage, rich with audio and video features, team's biggest stars, plus Tad Hayden's Cyberscope. After today's game, listen to player interviews on the Irish Locker Room Report, all on MSNBCSports.com. Let's go down to Jim Gray.
All right, thanks, Dick. We have several Heisman Trophy winners here today. Among them, Paul Hornung, great Notre Dame player, great Green Bay Packer. You won back in 1956. Your team was 2-8. How did you manage to win that trophy? The only guy to do so with the losing record.
I still don't realize. Johnny Major still hasn't forgiven me, and I don't think any Tennessee fan has. But we had some pretty good football players playing back in that. Jim Brown was in that class. Tommy McDonald, Jim Parker. I was very, very fortunate on a 2-8 football team to win that, I'll tell you.
You just told me a very fascinating story about Vince Lombardi. You played for Vince Lombardi and Frank Leahy. Repeat to our audience the Lombardi story.
Well, not too many people realize, but Vince Lombardi coached at West Point, and he loved Colonel Blake. And he predicated his whole life, actually, on what happened at West Point. And he said the most fascinating moment of his life then was Colonel Blake, Coach Blake used to give him the film and say, take this to the Waldorf Towers down in New York and go up to this room, and there is Douglas MacArthur. And he would show the game film of West Point each week, and he spent a year doing that. He said it's the most fascinating 3 hours he's ever had, Vince Lombardi and Douglas MacArthur.
Paul, good to see you. Great story.
Thank you, Jim.
Let's send it back upstairs to you, Jay.
That's great, Jim. Can you imagine 3 hours going over the game film with General Douglas MacArthur?
Get you fired up.
All right, on the touchback, Army takes over, and there's the play to Bobby Williams, and Williams scoots for about 8. And it'll bring up 2nd and 2 before Minor and Gilbo. Benny Gilbo, from injury, injured his knee against Michigan State. Number 2 returns for Notre Dame today.
Yeah, the Cadets have 3 different options, and then off the options they run a counter, which this was to Bobby Williams, and they also have a trap. And you think about when they say sophisticated offense, it has to be a pass offense. It doesn't. This is a very sophisticated running offense.
2nd down and a short 3. Pitch to Johnson as Lamont Bryant again invades the backfield of Army.
You know, one of the questions for Bob Davie was, hey, how would Lamont Bryant respond to getting the start for Grand Irons? Well, I'll tell you, he has answered the question thus far by playing beautifully here in this first half.
Giving Goff no chance for the option, and a 3, almost 4-yard loss back to the 24-yard line. 3rd down, 6 Army. Johnny Goff, senior from Missouri City, Texas, outside Houston. The quarterback gives to the fullback, and out to the 29-yard line goes Michael Wallace, the sophomore. Played at Robert E. Lee High School in San Antonio, Texas, and although he's 218 pounds, his teammates say he probably is the fastest man on this Army squad. But it brings up 3rd down, 4th down, and 1. So on comes the punting team.
And watch this unusual punt formation. You see a bunch of guys down here, a bunch of guys. Here's the ball, right in the middle. I mean, it's and if you don't cover those guys, they'll send the punter in motion and run the ball.
Graham White averaging 45.5 with Autry Denson back at his 35. Line drive, end over end, skips away from Denson, fields at the 29. And out to the 42-yard line. Good field position for Notre Dame. A 42-yard kick, 12 on the return. Final seconds of the opening quarter. 8 seconds remaining in this period. Bob Sutton not at all happy with that kick. Now, talking about some of the storied names in Army football history, MacArthur was the team manager 1902. President Eisenhower, of course, an Army cadet. Omar Bradley, one of America's great generals. Frank Borman, Apollo 8, was the team manager in 1949. We mentioned Robert E. Lee High School. Robert E. Lee to the military academy as well. Jerry S. Jackson outside to Bobby Brown, complete to the Navy 47-yard line. Derek McNally makes the defensive play. 2 seconds left in the quarter.
Jim Coletto, the offensive coordinator for Notre Dame, was taking some credit a year ago. I think has really brought this offense along slowly, but added, a little spice here. You had the fullback, you had the wide receivers, and today's game plan is really predominantly passing. There's Coach Coletto up the booth. This is sometimes a tough type of game to get your team ready to play. You read all the newspapers, everybody say, hey, you're going to blow them out. And I think this is a real coaching test for Notre Dame today.
Good speed and Denson behind Jackson on 2nd down and inches. Play action. Jackson goes long to Hunter. Incomplete. Andrew Burke, they tested Burke, and Hunter off his fingertips at the end of the opening quarter. A pair of field goals. Army and Notre Dame 3-all. Will return after these words from your local station. Back at Notre Dame Stadium, the 140th sellout here. 3-3 the score as we go to the second quarter. Dick Enberg with Pat Hayden and Jim Gray. Pleased you're with us. Bob Sutton's Cadets line up defensively. Army looks at Notre Dame's 2nd and 10 at the Black Knights 47-yard line. Jackson out of the shotgun running, takes a hit and battles, fumbles, perhaps. Nope, hangs onto the ball. Looked as if it was free there for a moment. Ron Spohr led the defensive charge for Army.
That's a design call, quarterback off tackle play. And they do it out of the shotgun. You see Jerry Jackson, he's going to step back and follow the block of Wisney. See, I think he ducked outside Wisney's block here. Maybe he had a chance to pick up a few more yards, but he is one determined runner.
Nate Hunterton was the man who made the big hit. But Jackson holding on, 3rd down 7. Loose defense for the Cadets. They bring the cornerback and a safety. It's picked up nicely. And complete to Getherall. And Joey Getherall still on his feet to the Army 22-yard line.
So when you bring the blitz, Dick, you've got to get to the quarterback. And they didn't. And that left one-on-one coverage, easy coverage for Joey Getherall. They brought a safety, they brought a corner, they brought a linebacker, the Cadets did. But still, Jarius Jackson was able to get the ball off. And Joey Getherall makes a nice adjustment to the catch. You know, he stretched out to 5'9" on that one. He's listed at 5'7", but he really stretched out to make a real good catch there over the middle.
First down at the Army 21. 3-3 the score. Second quarter early. Denson on the toss. Denson outside. Denson! The 5-yard line. First and goal, Notre Dame. 16 on Denson's longest run, and the longest run for Notre Dame today.
Yeah, watch Wisney out here. Watch the fullback. These guys getting out in front of this pitch play, a power play. When you have some physical size and advantages, that's what you do. You know, Goodspeed missed the first guy, but picked up the second guy. And Autry Denson really was just sensational against Michigan. The last two games has not broken the 100-yard barrier, but, you know, they're a more complete team than they were early in the year.
Scored a touchdown in each of the Notre Dame games, 8 total this year. He gets the call. Autry Denson, number 9.
Some guys have a nose for the end zone. His nose starts around the 10-yard line. You know, I mean, he is just so good down there.
37th of his career, second to Alan Pinkett.
And just making guys miss in a small area. I mean, a great cutback. So many good eye runners have great vision, and Autry Denson indeed has that.
He trails Pinkett in total yards rushing in his career. He's second also to Pinkett in touchdowns. Now Pinkett had 49. And line drive by Sanson for the extra point, and Notre Dame leads for the first time. A 58-yard drive in 6 plays. Denson with a payoff from 5. It's 10-3. Black Knights of the Hudson Military Academy and Notre Dame 10-3. Irish scoring on the Denson 5-yard dash up the middle. Now it's Rod Richardson, the 5'7" scooter from Portsmouth, Virginia, awaiting the kickoff from Hunter Smith. And he'll get a chance from the 5. And to the 24-yard line. Tony Driver makes the stop. 19 on the return. NBC tomorrow night.
A city with a poisoned water supply.
It'll kill anything. I can't let this thing spread.
How will they survive?
My baby.
The Thirst, NBC Sunday.
The movie premiere Thirst tomorrow night on NBC.
So I guess if you put one of those filters on your thing, it doesn't help.
Looks like it's bigger than that. A little bigger problem.
The filters don't work.
You know, that Halloween time, we always come out with these scary movies. Whatever happened to Sesame Street?
Still there.
That's right. Bobby Williams in motion. Goff keeps it, but he is hit by Jimmy Friday. And there's a combination from Missouri City, Texas. Friday and Goff both went to Willow Ridge High School there just outside of Houston. And they say hello on that play.
Right, they actually email each other, 2 or 3 times a week. I know you're not familiar with that concept at all, Dick. And matter of fact, you didn't visit my website this week.
Stand for anyway.
A little disappointed you didn't visit the website this week.
I just wanted to explain it. There's a painful, that cyberscope thing that you have. Second down and 7. Fullback carries well for the first Army first down to the 39-yard line. Michael Wallace, and he's through there so quickly. Finally, was the last Notre Dame jersey to bring him down. 2 safeties, Sanders and Gilbo.
Well, remember, we talked about them having 3 different options. This is what they call their midline option. They option off the guy right over the guard rather than the defensive end, and they give the ball to Michael Wallace, who one of the few guys that has enough speed on their team to go the distance. I mean, you mentioned he's 4-5 kind of fullback.
Whoops. We'll pick up a 5-yard motion penalty as Bobby Williams slashes to the 41-yard line.
Army, one of the least penalized teams in the country, less than 4 penalties a game. That's a real compliment, I think, to Bob Sutton. That man, actually, since he's been head coach, they've averaged less than 4 penalties a game. And you know, they're one of those teams is you're going to have to really work to beat this Army.
Illegal shift, offense, 2 men in motion at the same time, 5-yard penalty, replay, first down.
Now, Sutton told us, you know, there's some obvious disadvantages to recruiting, but there are some advantages as well, and it's the cadet character. He said these men immediately have attention to detail, the little things like penalties. You don't have to coach them, and their team goals. These aren't individual. There's no meism at the cadet. This is a team effort, and they all have the ability to reach beyond. They don't know where that higher goal is, but they all know that they can reach toward it, and that's the attitude about coming to Notre Dame. Felt they had a chance, although Anthony Weaver denies Goff again, and Goff just has not had a chance. That option has been taken away by Notre Dame's defense. The quarterback, every time he tries something, he's tackled for a loss.
Well, Lamont Bryant and that time Anthony Weaver have done a great job of really, first of all, squeezing down on the fullback. See the Anthony Weaver in 98. First he tried to help with the fullback, and then he rallies to the quarterback. So kind of a double play there for Anthony Weaver, who was becoming a better and better defensive lineman for the Irish.
Yeah, Bob Davey feels that he's an All-American in the making down the line. This freshman from Saratoga Springs, New York. Goff has to toss it, and it's an errant toss to Williams. Goff comes back to block. And Williams is tackled for a loss at the 25-yard line by Lamont Bryant. So Goff, not only has he been shackled trying to carry the ball, they're putting pressure on him and forcing him to err on his tosses.
Well, you wonder whether the inactivity is affected. Remember, this offense is based on timing, on guile. He's missed at least twice on those tosses to his halfbacks. He's been injured most of this year.
Bobby Williams trying to make something out of the mistake, gets it to the 25, but Army now looks at 3rd down 24. And the toss to Williams, and Williams battles out to the 39-yard line, back to the line of scrimmage, the original line of scrimmage, and it'll be 4th and 10 for Army. Sanders and Harper in the defense, deep defense for Notre Dame, make the tackle. Punting team on. This is interesting how they set up now. This time they don't do that muddle huddle. They come out in the orthodox lineup.
Well, their up-backs are not terribly orthodox the way they line up.
Looks like the old side saddle tee. Line drive to Denson at the 25. And tripped up at the 36-yard line. Notre Dame with the ball. 9:27 remaining in the opening half here at South Bend. The Irish 10, the Cadets 3. Welcome back to the continuing tradition. Army Notre Dame in one of the great college games in history. 1946, Yankee Stadium, New York. Nearly 75,000 fans, including General Dwight D. Eisenhower. There was Ike watching legendary coaches Red Blank of Army and Notre Dame's Frank Leahy. Johnny Lujak's open field tackle stopped Army's Doc Blanchard. Could have been a touchdown. And then Blanchard, watch this devastating tackle on Notre Dame's final drive of the game. Here's Blanchard, and that kept the Irish out of the end zone. A historic 0-0 tie. Notre Dame and Army, 1946. They were both unbeaten and finished the season with only that one blemish, the tie. Doc Blanchard, the fullback, Mr. Inside and Mr. Outside. Glen Davis, they both won Heisman Awards, and we're going to be visiting with Glen Davis shortly. Notre Dame at the 36-yard line. Jackson to throw again. Can't elude the pressure, now does. Complete to Denson, and Denson's got room to run. 50, 40, and slips down at the 31-yard line.
Was that a clever little play and a heads-up play by J.S. Jackson? Sometimes you worry about a guy forcing it too much, but you know his growth, just the presence. And ordinarily, option quarterbacks will take off and scramble after this long, and that time clock in your head. And a really good catch there by Autry Denson. Only his 5th of the year. He caught 30 last year. But boy, I tell you, that just the growth of this Jarius Jackson, that his growth and the way their defense is beginning to develop could take this Irish team a long way this year.
33-yard ad lib. Jackson wants to throw again. Deflected, incomplete. As Brian King made the play for Army. Let's go to Jim Gray.
Well, Dick, you just showed the flashback. We're here with Glen Davis. Glen, what do you remember about that? Lou Jack stopping Blanchard?
I sure do. There was an off-tackle play that Blanchard cut back to the sideline, and Lou Jack came over and made a one-handed tackle of him. And
52 years now. Have you figured out why no one could score?
I don't think either team or either coach wanted to win the game. They just didn't want to lose it.
This is your first time, amazingly enough, here at Notre Dame. All those games are played at Yankee Stadium. What's this like for you?
Well, it's wonderful. I love the way they redid the stadium, and love the natural grass. But you know, it's just wonderful to be here.
Glenn, great to see you. Thanks for taking the time to stop by.
Thank you very much.
All right, Dick, back upstairs to you.
And Glen Davis is one of the great players in collegiate football history. And in fact, was such a talented athlete, I think he still holds the record for that obstacle course at West Point.
Really?
Very difficult. You got to do it in 3 minutes or something. No one ever did it, including to this day, better than Glen Davis.
You were up there this week. Did you?
Yes.
Did you try it?
I was
slightly over
I
3?
wanted to go, but the line was too long.
The long gray line. Yeah.
They called it the swarm defense for Army, and they certainly swarmed Denson. It's 3rd down and 11 now. Jackson down the middle. Short this time. He had Gather all open.
And they both know it.
But one hopped it.
Oh, that's 75 points in that old 500 game we used to play in my street. But I tell you, great protection once again by Jarius Jackson. Joey Getherall just finding some creases there in that defensive secondary. But if Army is not able to put more pressure on Jarius Jackson, it's going to be a very, very tough afternoon.
Well, Bob Davies going to go for the long field goal, or is Hunter Smith coming in here to punt? Now they're going to go for the field goal, and Smith will kneel down at the 39. A 49-yard attempt, by far the longest ever for Sanson. 45 yards his longest, and it is into a slight breeze into his face.
And Dick, you worry about a block getting returned for a score on a play like this.
Low and wide to the left. No good. 48 yards officially. Army stops Notre Dame. 7:51 left in the opening half. $1 million plus for every race 2 weeks from today. The Breeders' Cup from famed Churchill Downs in Louisville here on NBC. It's 10-3. Army takes over the missed field goal. Cadets at their 31-yard line. Out of the wishbone, Johnny Goff, the quarterback. Give to the fullback, and Wallace is to the 50-yard line. No, it's Craig Stucker who comes in for Michael Wallace. And Stucker, the senior from nearby Lafayette, Indiana, at least within the Hoosier State, the home of Purdue University. Big gain, 19 yards.
One of the unusual things about this option play, watch the quarterback's Goff's eyes. I mean, he's never looking at the fullback. He's looking at his option man the whole time at the defensive end. And the fullback does not know whether he's going to get the ball or not on that triple option. Very unusual play.
You can have a name for that contact between quarterback and fullback. This is a counter play to Williams, and Williams is to Notre Dame's 41-yard line, a gain of nearly 10.
You know, I want to go back to the decision by Bob Davie to try that long field goal. I don't think that was a very good decision at that point, really, because not only did it put your kicker in a very difficult situation, you risked the blocked field goal for a touchdown, perhaps, and it also gave Army very good field position. And it probably should have pooch punted that.
Or even gone for it on 4th and long. Second down and less than a yard as Army continues their ground game. They're 3rd in the nation in rushing. Fullback and slammed hard as Craig Stucker by Joe Farrar, number 41, the junior from Castleberry, Florida.
Dick, you mentioned Army being good on the ground. I guess you'd be a little concerned if Army wasn't good on the ground.
That's right. We want that to happen. You're not a fan, right?
You want them to play good defense and be good on the ground.
In comes number 88, Gary Williams from Paterson, New Jersey, at wide receiver, valedictorian of his high school class. He's caught a couple of passes this year. First down at the 39. Doc keeps and picks picks up about 3. Jimmy Friday and Joe Farrar collaborated on the tackle. First time Goff's had at least an opportunity to turn upfield.
Well, Johnny Goff, he told me on Thursday, he's probably maybe 70-75% injured left ankle, but Bob Sutton likes his ability to make people miss. He's a better runner than Joe Jarena. There's Joe Jarena, probably the better thrower is Joe, but they thought Johnny Goff could give them a spark and perhaps have some long runs out of that quarterback position.
Second down and 5. Toss to Johnson. And Johnson spins inside the 30, and then half the Notre Dame defense smothers him. It'll be just shy of a first down. Johnson from Wyoming, Ohio, one of the many cadets we had a chance to talk with, Pat, and his majors French and Portuguese.
No majoring in eligibility at West Point or Notre Dame for that matter, but boy, the cadets seem to have that wishbone going pretty good and good rhythm now. Usually at the beginning of the game, defenses have a tough time adjusting to the wishbone, but right now, here with 5:15 left in the second quarter, they finally got some rhythm going themselves.
Close enough for a measurement, and it's a first down for Army.
Ever noticed how every fan thinks their team is number one?
It's the American way.
I guess. Well, they've called some passes, Hazard in. They forgot about Ohio State and so those other teams.
Well, it's a good thing Johnny McKay didn't want to use the wishbone at Southern California. You'd have been dead, wouldn't you?
Eric Orsiga was going to make a strong safety out of me if I came here.
First down for Army, trailing 10-3. 5 minutes left, second quarter. Goff again changing plays. Gets to the fullback. And to the 25-yard line goes Craig Stucker, getting more duty today than any time this year.
Their normal starter, Ty Amy, is out. The second fullback is Michael Wallace, and Craig Stucker, who up to this point really has primarily been a very valuable part of their special forces. That's their special teams, but now getting some extended playing time.
Stucker had 25 yards all season, and he has 25 yards in this quarter on 3 carries. Second and 7. Goff gets rid of the toss nicely to Williams. All the way inside the 10-yard line of Notre Dame.
And a good lead block. I think it was by Johnny Johnson. And the thing, he is their best runner. Bobby Williams is their best runner. But the problem was that with the option, you can't say, hey, I'm going to get Bobby Williams the ball 25 times because you just don't know. But if you can get him the ball, you get a good lead block by John Johnson, the other halfback, and to get him on that perimeter, you have a chance for some big plays.
Well, first and goal, nearly the full 10 yards, however, for Army. A touchdown away from tying the Irish here at Notre Dame. 4:14 left in the half. Thrown for a loss as Friday and Farrar charged in to make the stop.
Just to emphasize the point, if Bobby Williams were an I-back, they'd get him the ball 25, 30 times a game. But in this option, even though you want to get him the ball, if the option read is not there, you don't give it to him. And this time you keep it if you're Johnny Goff, and you don't go anywhere.
No option.
It's really. There's Greg Madison, the defensive coordinator of Notre Dame.
Rented Bob Sutton's house when he went up to take a job at Western Michigan. Sutton had left to go to the academy. Keeps the ball at the 5, and he's down to the 3-yard line. Johnny Goff stopped by Devron Harper. It'll be 3rd and goal from the Irish 3.
Well, the patience on this play of Johnny Goff. I mean, it looked like it was going to pitch, got a good block by his fullback. This Thursday he was talking to me, he said, I'm really an unconventional quarterback, even really an unconventional wishbone quarterback, and that was really kind of a delayed run that time by Johnny Goff.
Goff, lanky at 6'2" and 192 pounds. 3rd and goal, 3 yards away from tying it up. The Army Cadets give it to Williams. Williams on the counter. Touchdown, Army. 3 yards Cadets for the score, and senior Bobby Williams from Kinston, North Carolina, makes it 10-9.
A terrific call by Ed Warner, the offensive coordinator of the Cadets. You're going to see the counter. You see him looking in. You see the counter play. They ran fullback. They ran pitches. They ran the quarterback. But what they really needed, they came back with a counter play for the touchdown.
Eric Olson's try for point to tie it up. Cadets, surprisingly, with 2:45 remaining in the first half here at Notre Dame, have tied the Irish at 10. All right, Dan Hicks, 10-10 tie, and in this wishbone, Pat Hayden, if you're a running back, you better be able to block.
Yeah, you know, it's a quintessential team. Watch this play. John Johnson, number 2, the offside running back, as he traps number 13, Jimmy Friday. I mean, they play well as a team. They're disciplined. They make few mistakes, and you do everything you can for your team, because remember, these guys are developing leaders.
Bobby Williams juggling the ball at the goal line as Deke Cooper made the tackle, but holds on for the score. And now Eric Olson to kick it off. There's Tony Driver, the man who will be featured at halftime. Line drive, picked up by one of the short men at the 20. And to the 29-yard line, Darcy Levy, the sophomore from Aurora, Colorado. Next Saturday, NBC. We'll be right back here at Notre Dame Stadium as the Baylor Bears come to South Bend. That's next Saturday, Halloween. Baylor, Notre Dame, 2:30 Eastern, here on NBC.
Remember, Dick, at the beginning of this broadcast, we talked about the 3 things that Army needed to do to win the ball game. One was time of possession, one was no turnovers, and the other was go up some big pass plays. Well, they have 0 turnovers thus far, and they've had the ball for over 15 and a half minutes in this first half.
Jackson, whose arm has been the key threat for Notre Dame, and he's back to throw. Swings it flat. Jamie Spencer, and the fullback, bumped out of bounds at the 33 after a gain of about 4. Chad Ciotano, San Diego, California senior, makes the stop for Army, who, of course, when you're at the point, you're reminded everywhere you go that the theme is to beat Navy. I mean, it's a great season. They're point for every opponent, including Notre Dame, but down the line, the game is Navy. You had a chance to do a few of those.
Oh, yeah, it's the best college football game, I believe, in the land, Army-Navy.
2nd down and 5. Jackson scrambling, and what a catch! A diving grab by Jabari Holloway. They're going to count it?
No, they call it off.
Scott Kozak applying pressure on Jackson, and Holloway looking for his first catch, almost with a circus job.
Boy, you know, Jabari Holloway has really come on to. You know, they've added a little bit here, a little bit there. Yeah, it was trapped. Yep. You remember he caught a couple of touchdowns against Purdue and played well against Stanford. His team has more than just Autry Denson now.
You heard the comments about Tony Driver, who for a day quit the team. Holloway told us that last Christmas it took his mother with a slipper hitting him over the head to drive him back to South Bend. More on that, and it's both these schools have to deal with that problem. As Jackson looks, that ball trapped again. Well, and Johnson was wide open, but he was unable to pick it up cleanly.
Jarius Jackson, remember he started the season throwing the ball high. It's a little bit low today. But boy, was Malcolm Johnson wide open, working on Tony Coxon. Kind of pushed off from there a little bit. Well, I'm not so sure he didn't catch that. It looked like it hit the ground to you.
Pretty tough call. The official on the far side may have been screened. It was simultaneous. And Notre Dame with 2:16 left in the half brings on Hunter Smith. His first punt. Gets this one off short off the side of the foot. Richardson lets it bounce. And it takes a Notre Dame roll to almost the 20-yard line. And their Army, with 2:05 left in the half, will have a chance for another drive. Game tied at 10. If you're just joining us, yes, sir, that's the surprising score. Army and Notre Dame even at 10. 2 minutes plus remaining in this first half. And Bob Sutton's Cadets have the ball at their own 21-yard line. And there are signs of the wishbone awakening in this second quarter after a sluggish start. Draw play to the quarterback, and Johnny Goff picks up 5 before Friday and Howard, 2 Notre Dame backers, make the tackle. And here the 3 academies, 1, 2, 3, in rushing offense in the nation, all using the wishbone, with Notre Dame 14th, 230 yards rushing a game. What do they have thus far?
36 rushes. So Army has done a great job of shutting down Notre Dame's rushing attack thus far.
And Army with 103. Actually, Notre Dame doing a good job as well until that last scoring drive of 68 yards in 10 plays. 2nd and 5. The fullback picks Stucker to the 28-yard line. It'll be 3rd down and 2.
Dick, I want to mention the point again. You mentioned this being a surprising score, and for most people it is. But everybody up there in the Hudson, certainly that I spoke with, do not believe this is a surprise. And you know, maybe I'm just gullible. When I looked in their eyes, they expected to win. Now, you know, obviously that 4th quarter gets tough when you don't have a lot of depth.
Army's 2 wins over Cincinnati, 37-20, and Houston, 38-28. To Miami of Ohio, Rutgers, Southern Mississippi. Picking up a 1st down as Bobby Williams stays in bounds, however, and we'll see if Army spends a timeout at 44 seconds. Yes.
Yeah, they should.
Or is it Notre Dame?
They should use a timeout after picking up a 1st down with 3 remaining.
Ball at the 34-yard line. Nope, they are not calling time.
Bit of a surprise. I mean, they've got reasonably good field position right now. And 3 timeouts remaining.
1st down. Not thrown a pass in the entire half. Army. And won't hear as Goff keeps it. Off tackle for a couple to the 37-yard line. Clock running. Minor and Howard make the stop. And apparently Sutton, as a big underdog coming into Notre Dame, figuring a 10-all, play a 30-minute game against the favorite Irish.
Well, he said to me he wanted to make it a 4th quarter game and have the game come down to the last 2 series. And that was their game plan.
And so, the military academy, the Army cadets lead the field at halftime, even with 18th ranked Notre Dame. It's 10-10. In the bright sunshine down inside the Irish 5-yard line. Olsen sends it deep into the end zone, aided by a following win, and Notre Dame will take it at the 20-yard line. Olsen, whose father earned the Purple Heart while a U.S. Marine in Vietnam. Let's take a look at the 2 quarterbacks in the 1st half. Goff, no passes, 10 rushes, only 3 yards, and yet in a 10-10 tie, and that's encouraging for the Army.
Well, you know, he dealt the ball pretty well. He dealt the ball, got the ball out in the perimeter to Bobby Williams, where they had some plays, and Jarius Jackson had a very sound half throwing the ball, but I think they're going to want more production out of their running game this 2nd half.
Jackson hitting 51% of his passes on the year, 5 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He tosses to Denson. Denson tripped up, no gain. Right at the 20 is Andrew Burke and Chad Suetano collaborate on the stop. Jim?
All right, thank you, Dick. Well, I spoke to Bob Davie at halftime. I asked him, why isn't his team dominating the Army like most people? Hey, the only people who expect us to be dominating the Navy or the Army aren't playing against these academies. These academies are good. He said they haven't done anything that we haven't seen. Nothing has come unexpected. We can play a lot better. We just have to execute. I asked him if he gave his team a tongue lashing. He said no tongue lashing today. I simply told him what we have to do here in the 2nd half. Dick?
All right, Jim. They need to make those plays when especially that long pass is open. Did not the 1st half. Meanwhile, Army playing very tenacious defense as Jackson throws underneath to Holloway, and the tight end bouncing off tacklers. A 1st down out to the 37-yard line. Weaver and Suetano make the tackle. 1st catch for Holloway.
Well, you know, other guys have to step up. Jarius Jackson had a pretty good 1st half, but now it's Jabari Holloway early in the 2nd half who makes a real good play. Not only just a simple little catch, but picking up an extra 8-10 yards after the 1st hit.
Holloway, a very impressive young man. Talked to him yesterday. Jabari translates brave. He's an outstanding student in engineering, 3.06 grade point average as a sophomore. Denson some running room into the secondary of Navy and has a 1st down, a pickup of 12 out to the 49-yard line. Andrew Burke made the stop.
A good opening drive here. These guys up front doing their job. I mean, a good pass protection the entire 1st half. Lead block there by 33 Jamie Spencer. Jerry Wisney doing a good job. John Morandi, the center.
And Spencer comes off holding an arm or a hand, and Joey Goodspeed replaces him at fullback. Goodspeed, number 45. Denson tripped up, knocked forward to the Army 46-yard line. Weaver and Hageman with the tackle.
Autry Denson is the kind of runner that you know, you can, if you're an offensive lineman, you love to block for a guy like Autry Denson. And we were talking to John Morandi, the center, just yesterday. He said, you know, you look into Autry Denson's eyes and you can see that competitive fire going, and you know that he's going to give you everything he has on every play for 60 minutes.
Well below his average, however, today, only 37 yards rushing. 2nd down and 6. Denson streaks through a small hole and has another first down to the Army 39-yard line. Brian King made the tackle. Denson, the senior from Lauderhill, Florida. His dad, Autry Sr., was a flanker in college, played at Florida A&M, and coached his son in Little League. And remember, he made a point about fumbling. He said, it's a lack of courage you fumble the football, and he's really carried that well. He doesn't cough it up.
No, I think over 500 carries here, only 2 fumbles of those 500 carries.
Give the fullback Goodspeed, who has such a big game against Arizona State, but he's stacked up at the line of scrimmage. King again leading the charge for the Cadets.
And Dick, you see how many guys get up off the pile? I mean, there's always seems to be 3, 4, 5 jerseys, and that man, Adisa King, oftentimes gets off the bottom of the pile. But you talk about playing good team defense. I guess you expect it from Army, and there's always a lot of guys around those Notre Dame ball carriers.
Jamie Spencer, the word from the sidelines, bruised shoulder. They hope he'll be able to return. He looks okay. 2nd and 10. Jackson. Open is Malcolm Johnson, and Johnson with a first down at the 26-yard line. Rowland and McNally, the 2 safeties, with the tackle.
Good opening drive here. We saw a lot of Autry Denson. We've seen a pass to Jabari Holloway, and this time outside to Malcolm Johnson, who's had success on those curl routes. You don't see any Army defenders coming in from behind. There's a tremendous cushion there by Tony Coxum, number 17. You saw how long he had the ball before you even saw an Army defender.
Malcolm Johnson, such a terrific target at 6'5". First down, Notre Dame. The toss to Denson. Denson at the 12. Shot down at the 13-yard line by Andrew Burke. But Autry Denson, another first down.
2 great blocks that I saw. One by Jabari Holloway, the tight end. The other by Joey Goodspeed, number 45. You'll see that one. Let's watch how 45 Goodspeed just buries free safety rope. It's a terrific downfield block. It's like that arc block that Army runs so well.
At the 13-yard line, and Denson with his best running of the game here on this opening drive to start the second half. 10-10 tie. Quick throw, complete to Getherall at the 5 and twisted out of bounds at the 3.
I think they stole that one from Purdue. You know, that bubble screen that Purdue runs so much? It's similar to that. You see he's playing off. See the corner blitz. Jarius Jackson saw it, got the ball out to the very, very quick Joey Getherall.
Tony Coxum on the corner, prevented the touchdown. It's 2nd down and 1, Notre Dame at the 4, inside the 4. This has been the Irish quarter. Last year was their worst period of play. This year they've outscored opposition 44-3. Give it to Denson, and he is dropped for a loss. What a defensive charge by Army, led by McNally and Suitano. That last year they were pummeled in this 3rd quarter, 64-27, and this year Bob Davies turned it around. You got to give a lot of credit to the coaching when teams play that well after the half.
I really believe they've made good adjustments in the second half, the games that we have seen, and Bob Davie, as we said a couple times, is really bringing this team along slowly, but they have gotten better week in and week out, particularly the last 3 weeks.
The 11th play of the drive, they lost a yard, so it's 3rd and 2. Spencer back in motion. Jackson hit as he throws the ball incomplete, and Notre Dame fortunate that didn't fall right in the arms of Lyle Weaver. Jason Walker, a defensive back, came in on the blind side and hit Jackson just as he delivered the ball.
Now remember, his arm has to be going forward for it to be an incomplete pass. Take a look at, he dropped the snap initially, kind of messed up the timing of the whole play. Didn't see the backside. I'm not so sure that wasn't really a fumble, and your arm has to be going forward. I actually think that's a fumble, Dick.
It's right at that point. Is he starting forward or not? The official is ruling that is an incomplete pass. This Conference USA official crew here. That's the new conference, joined by Army.
Illegal formation. Offense, 6 men on the line of scrimmage. Penalty refused. 4th down.
So it's 4th and 2, and Bob Davie says, I want the 3, as he sends out place kicker Jim Sanson. So an impressive drive by Notre Dame, but Army's defense stiffens inside the 10.
Bob Davie's got a long to-do list there as he was writing some notes down.
22-yard attempt for Sanson. Trouble with a snap. Hunter Smith, and he tries to pass and does to Sanson, but he's tackled at the 10, and Army takes over on downs, and the Cadets on their feet again.
This Bob Sutton said we want to hang around, make it a 4th quarter game, a 2-possession game. Now, we've seen the Irish a lot this year. They've had some trouble from the center to Hunter Smith, the holder. Now, Hunter Smith generally does a great job of getting the ball down. Sanson just can't make up his mind. It's a fire call when this happens. You do the best you can, but it's just not quite good enough.
Still tied at 10.
2 special teams plays, errors by the Irish. One on the blocked field goal. Remember early in the ball game when Lyle Weaver of the Cadets came right up the middle, blocked the punt of Hunter Smith, set up a field goal to put the Cadets up by 3. And then just a moment ago, as the Irish lined up to open the second half drive, their first drive for a field goal attempt, poor snap, some indecision there, and the Cadets have made 2 very good special teams plays in this game to keep the game tied at 10.
And O'Leary, the tight end, backup tight end, the snapper. Little trouble for Hunter Smith in putting the ball down in the spot, and the Irish paid the price. Army still tied, takes over at the 10. Their first possession of this second half, and the give to the fullback. Michael Wallace, back in the game, was rested in that second period, and the young sophomore gains a couple. Bobby Howard made the tackle. Bob Sutton commenting on how much he was impressed by Howard as he looked at tape of the Irish defense. Howard, the senior from Rand, West Virginia.
You know, when you watch the Irish defense, you notice that number 27 is going to make a lot of tackles, as he does every week.
2nd down and 8. Lost away. As Devron Harper from his corner with a sensational defensive play.
And give Bobby Williams, the guy, the hittee, some credit for some courage, just bouncing right back up. It looked like a corner blitz all the way there, Dick, and perfect read and wrap up by Devron Harper.
3rd down and 10 for Army. They've not thrown a pass in the game. It appeared in the very first play of the game they had one called, but couldn't get it off. Johnson in motion. Goff keeps it and pays the price after a short gain as Bobby Howard met him head on. So the Irish defense denies on Army's first possession, and Notre Dame should have good field position after this punt. Graham White comes in for Army. Quite an interesting story. His father, retired U.S. Army colonel. His mother was the Rose Bowl queen in 1969. Sends off a dying spiral to the 44 to Denson. Looks for a block and makes it to the 45 of Army. The Irish at the Army 45, tied at 10, midpoint of the 3rd quarter. Back at Notre Dame, midpoint third quarter, 10-all. The last Army victory in this series was October 1958 here at Notre Dame Stadium. Long gray line saw Joe Caldwell hit Jack Morrison to open the scoring for Army. And then the Cadets sealed the win on Heisman winner Pete Dawkins' fourth quarter touchdown run. Final Army 14, Notre Dame 2. 40 years ago, Notre Dame has won 11 straight since. It's been a big weekend for the great stars of yesteryear, Army and Notre Dame. They had a big Hall of Fame banquet at downtown South Bend, and Pete Dawkins was there, and he's with Jim Gray right after this play. Jackson changing his call. Intercepted by Army as Kenny Dale Rowland picks off his third pass of the year. The co-captain of Army diving in front of the intended receiver, and Army makes another big play.
Yeah, really well timed by Kenny Dale Rowland, number 39. The free safety's right here. First of all, he reads the play well, ball's in, and he drives. Good angle as he cut right in front of Jabari Holloway. If he didn't take the proper angle, he's not able to intercept that ball, but that's his third of the year. Youngest of 7 children.
Fewest turnovers lost, Notre Dame, and now with 7.
Oops, where's my 7?
And Army improving its field position now starts at the 35-yard line. And the first pass by Goff. Incomplete. He had Williams open, and Williams couldn't tuck it away. Well, let's go down and meet Pete Dawkins.
1958 Heisman Trophy winner, Pete. It's been 40 years since you've been here, and it's been 40 years since the Army has beaten Notre Dame.
And that's
why is it taking so long?
That's a record we want to hand off. There's some of them we'd like to keep, that one we'd like to give away. But, 40 years ago, it's the first time I've been back here for 40 years. It was a day exactly like this. Same temperature, blue skies. This is a great place in America to play football.
The only thing that was different is you were undefeated, the Army, and Notre Dame was undefeated. Why can't the Army get better athletes, you think, in this day and age?
Well, I think it's very tough. The NFL is an attraction to an awful lot of kids, and you don't want to have a big military obligation and whatnot. But we get good enough kids that if we work on them for 2 years, we'll get 2-year ball players out of them, and they've got tremendous heart. And this game today is a testimony to that. Overpowered, outsized, but this is a winnable football game, and they'll hit you as hard as anybody there is.
Pete, last question. Why are you on the Notre Dame sideline? Something's wrong here.
Hey, I tell you, I'm here under duress, and I'm headed over to the victory side.
Pete, good to see you. Thanks for taking the time.
Thanks.
Back upstairs to you, Dick.
All right, Jim. Looks great, doesn't he? Pete Dawkins, 40 years ago, the star and the Heisman winner that year, as college's top, college's top.
We got a procedure against Army. Not enough men on the line of scrimmage. 5-yard penalty. Replay, second down.
So that denied about a 7-yard play for Army and takes the ball back to the 30-yard line where it'll be second down and 15.
You saw Pete Dawkins play a lot, but you always like the halfback passes.
Yeah, that left-handed halfback pass.
Nice,
He completed one of those in that 14-2 win. Richardson, he's got speed. And little man is wrestled down by his opposing number 1, Deke Cooper, one-on-one.
Bob Sutton said at the beginning of this year, we must get that number 1, Rod Richardson, the ball more. And they've done a pretty good job of trying to do that. They send him in motion. He's ordinarily a wide receiver, but this year they're trying to give him a few pitches. Get him on the perimeter, use his outstanding speed, but Deke Cooper, really a strong tackle. You see Rod Richardson's all-purpose yards. They use him in a lot of different ways. 127 yards a game.
Third down and 8 for Army. And it's well read by the Notre Dame defense, and stopped is Michael Wallace at the 42-yard line where it is 4th down and 3. Antoine Jones and Jimmy Friday in on the tackle.
He's sending the punt team. I thought he was thinking about going for it, but they bring in that unusual punt formation.
Less than 6 minutes now remaining in the third quarter, so that clock's starting to play in Army's favor. They're chewing up time against the heavily favored Irish. Kicked by Graham White. Gatherall at the 20 and runs into trouble at the 28. 38-yard yard punt, 7 on the return. 5:36 remaining in the third quarter. Still tied at 10 in South Bend. And don't forget tonight to turn that clock back every place in the world apparently except Indiana. I mean, they don't.
Yeah.
We usually get that hour back. We happen to be in the one place where.
I don't know. I asked a couple people. They said it was for the cows here.
There you go.
Yeah, I didn't quite understand why, but the cows will be happy.
First down, Notre Dame at the 27, and the give to Denson across the 30, a pickup of 2 or 3. Nate Hunterton, number 55, leading the defense. Hunterton is an interesting young man from Las Vegas. His pet is at home. It's 8 feet long, a black snake, and you don't mess with him. Even without the snake. He's undefeated as an Army boxer.
Yeah, 9-0, he told me.
Second down, 6, Notre Dame. Navy with a big win over BC, 32-31. Oh, the long throw. This is Malcolm Johnson, and Jarius Jackson took quite a hit from Chad Suitano, number 89, who delivered a big blow on the Irish quarterback, and he gets up holding that right arm loosely.
Yeah, Suitano, number 89, and I'll tell you, then Kenny Dale Rowland, the free safety, did a great job, I think, of tipping this ball away, but no, he didn't. Never mind. The ball was thrown out of bounds.
Third down and 6 for Notre Dame, and the Irish staggering on this series.
Yeah, and this is where they need Jarius Jackson to step up and make some plays.
3 wide receivers. Devereaux is the wide man to the right. Jackson fires complete to Malcolm Johnson. And Johnson, the favorite target of Jarius Jackson all season long, has his 4th catch today, his 23rd of the year.
And a good sequence of routes there by Malcolm Johnson. Remember the play before? He ran deep, and then if you're a defensive back, you worry about that. You come right back and you run the hook route. Now, this is the one he's had tremendous success on today. You see how late it is? Then until Andrew Burke, number 22, comes into the picture. But that was set up by the prior play. Everybody thinks they're number 1, and as they do in Ohio State, too.
At the 43, first down, Notre Dame, with 4.5 minutes left in the third quarter. It's tied 10-all. Denson to the 49-yard line, a gain of 6 more. Andrew Burke again from the secondary to make the tackle for Army. Burke replacing the injured Jamar Mullen, left with a broken arm. First half.
Yeah, 4 minutes remaining in the third quarter, and you would think as this game goes on that the Notre Dame size would take advantage. You think they'd be able to wear this Army team down. And that is their philosophy. But Bob Sutton, the coach of Army, says we just want to make it a 2-series game at the end of the ball game.
Denson's yardage picking up now here in the third quarter, 49 yards. And for an uncharacteristic 20-yard first half for the Notre Dame number 1 ball carrier. He gets the toss again. And they got him in the backfield for a yard loss. Lyle Weaver, that talented sophomore linebacker, sniffs out the play again.
Number 6, Lyle Weaver, he has had a terrific season, and once again it makes a tackle for a loss, which has become more and more his specialty. And Bob Sutton, the coach is talking coach speak, but when a coach says about a guy he's a football player, that means something to a coach, and that's what he told me about Lyle Weaver. He said he is just a good old-fashioned football player.
6 feet tall, 225, shifted from free safety. Very explosive. Third down, 5, Notre Dame. Quick toss over the middle to Holloway, the tight end, first down at the Army 39. McNally was the last Army uniform in the way of Holloway, and that quick pop.
A nice call there by Jim Coletto, the offensive coordinator. All the receivers spread to the left, just a quick tight end pop. Again, you got the size of Holloway, the size advantage, Holloway over McNally.
So Notre Dame in a 10-10 tie, 2.5 minutes remaining in the third quarter. First down at the Army 39. And a good play by Suitano Number 89 traversing and making the hit after a short gain.
Now, some of these guys, including we talked so much about Lyle Weaver, have a symbol on their back of their helmets, and it's a Ranger symbol. See that right there? There it is. Yeah. See, the R stands for Ranger. Now, in the Army, that has great significance. They're the most elite men in the Army. And Bob Sutton, if you play well the week before, you're part of the Ranger Club, and you get to wear those on your helmets. And at the end of the year, if you make it 8 times, you get permanently put up on a board. Your name gets put up on a board. But the Ranger linking to the football program.
2nd and 9, Notre Dame. Throwing the ball to Brown. Good stop and go for Brown. Still on his feet. Bobby Brown to the 10, to the 3. Fumbles in the end zone. Recovered by Malcolm Johnson. It's a touchdown, Notre Dame. Near disaster for the Irish, but Malcolm Johnson in a pack of Army defenders got to the ball first. It was live in the end zone.
The good things always happen if you hustle. You never know what can happen. And a hustling Malcolm Johnson made the play there after a really remarkable run by Bobby Brown.
And so the Irish break the deadlock at 16-10 as Sanson lines up for the extra point. And that very nearly blocked.
That was tipped. That was tipped, that ball, I believe.
Just did squeak through, but Notre Dame, with 1:28 left in the third, owns the lead at 17-10 as the 2 wide receivers, Brown and Johnson, collaborate.
Yeah, both these teams have the same kind of players, Dick, guys that hustle all over the field, never give up. You see number 6, Malcolm Johnson, try to block after his teammate Bobby Brown makes the catch. Bobby Brown made a lot of people miss. Spinning, churning. I think he tried to lean the ball over the goal line. It slipped out of his hands. But number 6 got his 6'5" frame in there to make the recovery for the touchdown. The 3rd catch of the year for Bobby Brown. And really great character, great hustle by both these teams.
Malcolm Johnson's 2nd touchdown of the year. That certainly was unrehearsed as he scoops up Bobby Brown's mistake, and it leads to 7 points for the Irish. With a minute and a half left in the third. That was Kenny Dale Rowland who was there on the tackle to force the ball free. He's made some big plays, including an interception today. Smith as the shadows here in the late afternoon in northern Indiana. Ball bounces down to Richardson. Richardson to the 25 to 26 yard line. Reminder to check out Notre Dame's official athletic department website at www.und.com. Live in-game statistics, transcripts as well of Bob Davies' press conferences, all the inside information not only on football but the other 25 Irish sports. They won hockey, beat Ohio State 3-0 last night. That's www.und.com. Bobby Brown had 2 catches in the first 5 games, and that was after a pretty productive year a season ago. And
40-some?
Yeah, he had 45 catches, 6 touchdowns, so he's been quiet. Army trails by 7 late in the third. Give to the fullback, and he sprints out. That's Stucker, Greg Stucker, and he has a solid gain across the 40-yard line.
That's that midline option, they call it. Again, they're going to read right inside, give the fullback the ball right over the center's block. And Craig Stucker just carries with both arms. Didn't know he's going to get the ball until the quarterback leaves it in there, really. But picks up the first.
Boy, Army has some good depth at fullback. Andy injured. The starter didn't play today. Then Michael Wallace, and Stucker is the 3rd string fullback. They can get to Williams, and Williams runs into trouble.
It always gives me encouragement that the Army has depth. They have the Army has several different types of options we talked about. They have the triple option. That's where anybody can get the ball. You don't know the midline option, which we just saw. The double option, the fullback is not going to carry the ball on that. We haven't seen much of the forward pass. Then you add in the trap and a counter. They scored a touchdown in a counter early in the game.
It's a very difficult to defend, and Notre Dame did have an extra week to get ready for the wishbone primarily, as they are lined up now, not like the old Oklahoma wishbone, more the double wing look. Quick toss to Williams, and Williams behind a block is into Notre Dame territory at the 47-yard line. He's right at the yard sticks, close to another first down. And that is with 1 second left in the quarter. They'll wind that off. We'll see whether Army picks up the first down, and Bobby Williams, the senior top runner for Army, very slow getting up, and he's waving the sideline. Don't come in for me.
Dick, not only did Notre Dame have that, a bye last week to prepare 2 weeks for this wishbone. Remember, the students had the week off, so really they had walkthroughs each morning this past week, as well as a full workout and pad, so it was almost 2 a day.
Williams with that run has 59 yards, leaving him just 12 away from passing the All-America of the 40s, Felix Doc Blanchard.
It's pretty good company.
And he did pick up the first down. So when the fourth quarter begins, Army trailing 17-10 will have a first down in Notre Dame territory. As soon as the chain gang leaves the field, referee will wind the clock and take care of that final tick. We'll go to the fourth quarter. To the fourth period we go. Notre Dame 17, underdog Army 10. We'll return after these words from your local station. Back in South Bend, Notre Dame leading 17-10, and underdog Army giving the Irish all that they want and some more. And we open the fourth quarter with a first down Army at the Notre Dame 47-yard line. Johnny Goff back from injury, the quarterback for the Cadets. That's Williams in motion. The fullback on the keeper, and it's Stucker to the Irish 44. We go to Jim Gress.
Thank you, Dick. I'm here with Nick Bonacani, class of 1962 for Notre Dame. Nick today was honored with the Foster Award. That's for distinguished community and civic service for the Miami Project. How are things going down at the Miami Project? It serves to help those with spinal cord injuries.
Jim is doing very well. Matter of fact, we've had a breakthrough year, and we think in the next couple of years we're going to be restoring function to paralyzed people. And considering that we only started 10 years ago, that's pretty amazing.
And you got involved, a strange twist in your life. Of course, Mark, your son, inflicted with it. How's he?
He's doing great. He's on top of his game, and he works every day with one thing in mind, just trying to find a cure for spinal cord injury.
Nick, of course, there's an interesting set of circumstances maybe presenting themselves, and that's the Denver Broncos now undefeated. Of course, everybody wants to know about the 72 undefeated Dolphins. You think the Broncos could go through a season undefeated and challenge the Dolphins?
Well, they haven't played Kansas City in Kansas City yet, and you have to remember, next to the last game, they play Miami in Miami. But this is a team that's playing with confidence, and the similarities between our team and that team is that when they hit the field, they know they can win, and that's how they're playing.
Nick, nice to see you. Good luck on the project.
Thanks, Jim.
All right, back upstairs to Dick and Pat.
All right, Jim, great to see Nick Bonacani. He's always been a winner. Third down, Goff pitches to Reno Faree, his first carry, and Faree, a junior from Youngstown, Ohio, has a Army first down as he drives to the 37-yard line.
And what a great lead block by Bobby Williams. It's not often you see, distinguished runners. This is Bobby Williams here. Throw the lead block. This is an arc block. The crackback by the tight end. He gets number 10, Devin Harper, off his feet, which allowed Faree to get the first down. But great teamwork, which I guess you expect at the academies.
First down at the 37. He trails 17-10. Fourth quarter, Williams goes outside. And then darts inside the 30 to the 29, and a gain of nearly 8 for veteran Bobby Williams. And he now with 70 yards. That equals Doc Blanchard's rushing record while he was at Army. This is his total starting today. This season, 454 yards, and needing 71 to pass Blanchard.
More than 7 on the last.
He's setting up a lot of runs too, though, Dick, with the way he blocks.
Well, he's a complete player. He says, "I've got my 5-year commitment in the Army after I graduate, but I still think I can stay in shape and play in the NFL." Give us to Stucker, and he is stuck by Bobby Howard. No gain, and that'll bring up third down.
Bobby Howard pulling himself off the pile, like just like Lyle Weaver for the Cadets. When there's a big mass of bodies, you kind of pull guys off. Usually number 27's at the bottom of that pile.
Many people thinking that his first name is Ann because you name all the tacklers, and the last one is Ann Bobby Howard.
You just think of that one? We used that before. That's kind of cute.
It's an old one. Third down and a yard and a half. And he drives. Boy, just the power of his effort. He makes contact and moves the pile for a Army first down at the 25-yard line.
And Reno Ferree returns the favor. That's the other back, number 44. Remember a moment ago, Bobby Williams cleared the way for Ferree. This time, just the opposite. And Bobby Williams. Here's Ferree up here. Here's that arc block. He just gets a piece of that defender, allows Bobby Williams to die for the first.
At the 24-yard line, Goff turning to mention the play called a stucker. He doesn't keep it. Goff does. And Goff has to eat it for about a yard gain as Howard again there to make the tackle for Notre Dame. Take a look at Bobby Howard on that defensive effort.
Well, when you're one of those inside guys, you have to be able to fight through traffic, not get caught up, not get your legs, caught up with other players. And he was just able to bounce off, really like a tailback, finding an open spot, but meeting the quarterback there for virtually no gain.
Second down along 8, short 9. Into the fullback. No, Goff keeps it. And slips inside the 20 to the 19. It'll be about third down and 5. We asked Bob Davie, it's midterms for the Notre Dame students. And I said, you're the professor. Give your players a grade. He's a tough marker, and he only gave 3 A's at the midterm.
Well, I would give Bobby Howard an A+ myself, certainly today. But I'm glad I took his class pass-fail.
Denson and Hunter Smith, the only two to get A's. Bobby Howard an A-, and Malcolm Johnson with a touchdown, a B+. He said, but I tend to get easier as we win later in the year. Third down and 5. Fullback, Stucker, touchdown Army.
He's going to look for 1 or 2 here. 10 minutes left in the ball game.
Greg Stucker's first touchdown at West Point, and he's got some of those young Cora cadets going crazy.
That's the hardcore, but there's not many of them here, but they're making up for it. But what a great block, too, by Michael Guzman, the center of the cadets.
On 3rd and 5, the fullback, and Notre Dame wasn't looking for that call as Eric Olson ties it up. My, oh my, 10 minutes left in the 4th quarter. And now, hold on, a flag is down. And they may be kicking this extra point over, at least from the action of the officials. As you take a look at senior Craig Stucker, who's come back home to Hoosier land. He grew up in Lafayette, Indiana, went to McCutcheon High School. That's co-captain Neil Ravitz, considered the top offensive lineman, along with Brian Conley, the 2 tackles.
We have running into the kicker on Notre Dame. Penalty refused. Point good.
And so, with 10 minutes exactly remaining in the 4th, Army 17, Notre Dame 17. Back in South Bend, and the cadets represented well today. Their Spirit Corps, they call them, Spirit Team, and some 200 cadets across the way cheering a 75-yard drive in 12 plays, and Craig Stucker's 3rd-string fullback scores his first Army touchdown.
Yeah, we'll watch the center here, Michael Guzman, as he picks off 13, in the guard right here, Nate Allard, as he gets tied up with Bobby Howard. I mean, the guard and the center do a great job of comboing on those 2 guys to allow a big hole for Craig Stucker.
And this Notre Dame crowd stunned by Army's performance, tied at 17. 19 yards on the touchdown run, and now Eric Olson to kick it off to Tony Driver.
What a great ball game. on a spectacular day.
True to the tradition.
Yeah.
This one topped downfield, and one of the up blockers, it's Joey Goodspeed, and the fullback tackled at the 30. Don't forget, next Saturday here on NBC, game time 2:30 Eastern, as the Baylor Bears come to South Bend. Baylor and Notre Dame next Saturday here on NBC.
Dick, we were talking to Bob Davie this just yesterday, saying, maybe my players don't understand the richness of the history of this game, but my players' parents and their grandparents understand all those great Army Notre Dame games. And his message to his team this week is create your own memories. Create your own memories.
25 years from now, they may be talking about this game. And, of course, that applies to Army as well.
Yep.
They were talking about the tradition and the great history of Army players. Here's the reverse to Javen Hunter, the wide receiver, freshman, and Hunter is all the way out to midfield, and a Notre Dame first down. Andrew Burke made the tackle, 15 on the play. Hadn't seen that one going to Hunter this far. He went to Detroit Country Day High School, playing as a true freshman.
And this is a guy early in the year that Bob Davie thought he was capable of some real big plays. Earlier in the game, they had him open for a touchdown. He's going to come all the way around the other side. Good call on a first down play. They cleaned up the outside linebacker, Suintanu.
You might remember his dad, James Hunter. He played 7 years as defensive back with the Detroit Lions. Autry Denson burrowing for a couple. David Hageman and Army company with a stop.
Bob Sutton's got his wish. Game tied at 17, 9 minutes left in the ball game. He said, hey, here is where we have to distinguish ourselves. Those last couple of series. And right now, it's up to his defense that really has played very, very well. Outsized, outmanned, but no quitting these guys.
Second down, and Bobby Brown split right. Malcolm Johnson to the left. He splits his backs this time. Goodspeed and Denson. Jackson flags down. Jackson scrambling out of the cup and pushed out of bounds at the 43-yard line. And Drew Burke, the substitute for Mullen, has played well defensively. Scott Kozak put on the pressure, and holding is the call against the Irish.
Holding, ball against the Irish.
That you can ill afford, as suddenly all the warning words of Bob Davie have come.
Holding. Offense. 10 yards. Spotted a foul. Still second down.
To pass, because Army indeed has been a most worthy and tough opponent.
Yes, the holding call there, Dick, you're right about that. The holding call on Tim Ritter, easy call by the referee and the umpire.
There's no question Kozak, had he not been held, had a beat on the quarterback Jackson, and it takes it all the way back to the Notre Dame 34-yard line and brings up second down 27.
Bob Sutton's a good coach. I mean, he really is. It's tough at the academies, but just that was one indication. Only 2 penalties this game, and the average during his 8 years as a head coach, less than 4 a game.
Jackson on the quarterback draw, breaking some tackles, and out to the 41-yard line. Nate Hunterton finally got him to the turf and brings up third down and long.
You're right. Andrew Burke is getting into the action, number 22 down here. This is a guy that is been enthusiastic. I mean, he's making some plays. He's downfield, upfield, on fullbacks.
You like that diminutive. You lived your whole career in the NFL. Diminutive Ram quarterback Pat Hayden.
That's it. I didn't have any respect for my offensive lineman unless I could look him right in the belly button.
Burke's about 5'6", doing a tough job. 3rd and 20. Jackson down the middle. Incomplete, and there's the man Weaver again. Lyle Weaver, who has been tough on the line of scrimmage, drifting back the linebacker to deflect the ball. And it was Weaver's block of a punt early in the game that set the tone for Army and gave them believability.
I swear there are 3 guys wearing number 6 out there for the Cadets. Great. Oh boy, he was a strong safety a year ago. Probably should have had that one.
On the punt is Hunter Smith. Richardson is deep for Army, very short off the side of his his foot, but will take a good Notre Dame bounce. And Richardson gambles, puts it up at the 10 and out to the 17-yard line. Goes Ray Richardson. 54-yard punt by Hunter Smith. Timeout. 7 minutes 5 seconds left in the fourth. Tied at 17. On NBC's Saturday trilogy.
Tonight, the Pretender goes bounty hunting to save a man with a price on his head.
Freeze!
No! Pretender Showdown, all new NBC tonight.
That's the Pretender NBC Saturday trilogy tonight, but trilogy starting early on NBC. It started this afternoon in South Bend and has been a thriller for the fans of Army and scary for Notre Dame, favored by more than 3 touchdowns in this game. It's tied at 17 with 7 minutes left in the fourth. Goff can't deliver the pitch as the play is made by freshman Anthony Weaver.
Anthony Weaver's no longer a freshman, Dick, at least in playing ability. I mean, he started since the Michigan game, does a great job of squeezing the play inside and then getting a piece of Johnny Goff. That's twice Anthony Weaver's taken the fullback away first and then gotten to the quarterback.
Weaver told us his hero growing up, it wasn't Barry Sanders, he was a running back. He loved Christian Okoye. Said, I don't like those guys that dodge. I want them to run through people. He's 250 pounds, and he'll be a great star before he leaves Notre Dame. There's the toss to John Johnson, and he slips. No gain at the 16 is Corey Minor. At the other corner, number 4 makes the play.
Well, really important third down right now, actually for both teams, but particularly for the Irish. A little over 6 minutes left in the ball game. There's the Army offense today. We talked about that triple option. They've run that most of the day with some good success. The midline option only 4 times, double option twice, and they still need those 2 or 3 big pass plays.
Less than 6 minutes remaining in the fourth. Many of the Notre Dame students back from their mid-semester break. Goff caught by the shirt tail, and that slowed him up enough. He came up 2 yards, 3 yards shy of the first down. And fourth down, the call for Bob Sutton.
Cut back. I thought Lamont Bryant, number 53, was going to get a piece of him, but just slipped. He doesn't have the explosiveness. He said he's playing about 70% explosiveness that he generally has.
On comes the punting team for Army. Graham White. He hits one over Getherall's head. Great kick. Bounces out of bounds at the Notre Dame 24-yard line. 52-yard punt by Graham White. Less than 5 minutes to go. Notre Dame tied with Army, 17. Bob Sutton, who has a contract that will take him into the next millennium. Next year, when he takes over the reins at West Point, he'll become the second in tenure in Army history for a coach. Only Red Blake, who coached at West Point for some 18 years, more than Sutton. Tom Cahill and Jim Young, both 8 years. And this is 68 Cahill's team. And one of his assistants, a fellow named Bill Parcells.
Bill Parcells said in the book that, hey, Cahill really taught him how to put together a staff. And there's some other good coaches on that team. John Makovic was on that staff. Ray Hanley, Al Groh.
Notre Dame at its own 24. 4:56 left, tied at 17. Irish have all 3 of their timeouts. And again, Army's defense against the run has been most impressive. Adisa King, number 48, the junior from Jackson, Mississippi, led the charge with that man Suitanu assisting.
I love the defense of the Army. And Suitanu, that night position that we've talked about, part linebacker, part defensive end, sometimes involved in the pass coverage, and that's the defensive coordinator, Denny Dornbos.
Second down 9. For Jackson, under pressure, throws complete to Malcolm Johnson, out of bounds at the 33. I believe a yard short of a first down based on the first marking.
Now Malcolm Johnson is becoming more and more polished receiver. And and you can see that he really wants the ball. He keeps signaling the quarterbacks, throw me the ball, throw me the ball. One thing, he probably could have run this route about 2 yards deeper to have picked up the first. I think he knows and is a little disappointed that he came up just a pinch short.
3rd down and 1. Denson, and it's a 1st down and a risky play to the 38-yard line.
But a great play and wonderful timing. You know, everybody talks about quarterbacks being great throwers, the timing in the throw, but what's the timing of this option play by Jarius Jackson? I mean, he set up Derek McNally, number 4, perfectly. McNally didn't know whether he was going to keep it or pitch it, and at the last moment, last possible moment, he pitches to Denson for a very important 1st down.
Notre Dame 14th in the nation with 230-yard average, held to half that by Army today.
Well, good math, very good math.
Give to Denson, and he sprints out to the 47-yard line and a gain of 9 more for Autry Denson, looking for another game over that century mark after a very slow 1st half of just 20 yards. Clay Daniels makes the tackle.
Autry Denson, the proven quantity of this team. You know what you're going to get. It's effort and a lot of positive yards, and sometimes a lost shoe.
Tenderly, with all of that wrapping on his hands, that untying your shoes or retying them, that's a major effort, Herculean effort.
4 horsemen never came out of their shoes.
That's a very good point. 2nd down and 1. Denson smacked at the line of scrimmage, but might have gotten enough for the 1st down as Scott Kozak, junior from Orland Park, Illinois, Sandburg High School, made the tackle.
You know, Jim Gray was talking about it earlier, how this may be the last game for a while in this series. You hate to see it, you know, really, because it's not only been historically been such an important game, but it's still played with tremendous intensity.
It was a 1st down for Denson, and now some nervous action there in the Cadet Corps as Notre Dame at midfield. Clock running to the 2-minute mark. Game tied at 17. Jackson, play action. Johnson, and Malcolm Johnson, that big 6'5" receiver, has a 1st down at the Army 38. Weaver and Rowland make the stop. 6 catches to lead Notre Dame for Malcolm Johnson.
And Dick, you know what I really like about Jim Coletto's calls here? The Cadets have not stopped this hook route today by Malcolm Johnson, and they keep repeating it. You see the huge cushion there. I mean, if you can't stop it, keep calling it.
1:47 left. Jackson again. Same thing. Kenny Dale Rowland came up to make the pop. Rowland named after his 2 uncles, Uncle Kenny and Uncle Dale, out there in Poplar Bluff, Missouri.
You have been doing your homework. Hey, that was a sophisticated read there by Jarius Jackson, because, you know, he saw the roll up in the corner, knew he had to get the ball to tight end, and that's exactly what he did.
And timeout called with 1 minute 32 seconds left. Notre Dame attempting to drive for the winning score. Late October sun, shadows on the field here at South Bend, bright on the Army sidelines, and it has been a brilliant performance by this undermanned underdog cadet team. 17-17, 1 minute 32 seconds left. That was a Notre Dame timeout. They have 2 remaining. It's 2nd down and 2 inside the 30. Maybe at least another 10 yards for a reasonable field goal attempt. Toss to Denson, and Denson caught in the backfield by Ron Spohr, the sophomore, showing good speed from that defensive end position.
Boy, is that a big defensive play by Spohr, number 90. I mean, just when they think they got a 2nd and short, Dick, you know, you punch it in, maybe you get yourself in position for a game-winning field goal. Your sophomore defensive end, Ron Spohr, fights off a block. Good leverage there by Suintano, number 89, too, that forced the ball inside, but that's a terrific defensive play.
And Army, somewhat of a surprise, it's Army that calls time here. and they spend a timeout.
Yeah, which is very unusual, considering that, you know, if Notre Dame kicks a field goal, they're going to need that timeout.
Yes, maybe that's what he's thinking, that should they kick a long field goal, he wants enough time to be able to drive back down the field himself. There's a minute 16 seconds left in the fourth quarter.
Well, again, Notre Dame has 2 timeouts remaining. They're going to face what? It's third and about 3, a long 3 as you call it. And so you've got to figure they have 2 downs to try to get those 3 yards. They probably wouldn't attempt a long field goal.
Well, if they had to kick one, it would be about 48 yards from this spot, which would be pressing Sanson's distance. As longest, as we said earlier, is 45. He tried one from 48 in the first half, but that was into the wind. And although there isn't much of a breeze now, it would favor Sanson going right to left.
So I think you have 2 timeouts. 2 downs to pick up these 3 yards.
Here comes Jarius Jackson, the senior from Tupelo, Mississippi. He has the play call. After 3 long years behind Ron Paulus, Jackson has led this team to 4-1, looking for 5-1. Pressure play. Short pass. Jamie Spencer had it in his hands. He was looking back into the sun in that direction. You can see the angle of the shadows right in Spencer's eyes. Whether or not that affected the play, we'll not know.
Well, he was looking in the sun, but if the ball is thrown out in front of him so that he doesn't have to turn to make the adjustment, it's an easy catch.
And now comes Sanson for what would be a very dramatic field goal should he make it from 48 yards, maybe 47. It'll be 48. This is huge for this junior from Scottsdale, Arizona.
He's won 1 game this year.
But that one was a short 22-yarder. On its way. It's long enough. It's good. Clutch. Sanson, 48 yards, his career long, and Bob Davie sees the scoreboard light up. 3 more on the Notre Dame side, 20-17 with 1:06 left.
It started with a perfect snap by Dan O'Leary. And he's had a couple of poor snaps today, but when they needed, great snap, good hold, and a clutch kick by Sanson.
Well, that was dead center.
He's now won 3 games with kicks in his Notre Dame career.
If Notre Dame's defense can stop Army in the final 66 seconds. It'll be Army's turn when we return. Notre Dame leading 20-17. Army with 2 timeouts left. Well, at the start of this game, we mentioned Army here to challenge Notre Dame. And it certainly has been all of that from the cadets. And Jim Sanson meets the challenge. The longest ever field goal, 48 yards to give his team, the Irish, the lead, 20-17.
Dick, you were right to correct me, too, because Army still has plenty of time with 1:06 and 2 timeouts remaining. Now, the problem is they're not a dynamic team, certainly in the passing game. This is a very difficult situation for a wishbone team.
They're used to churning out those 5, 6, 7-yard gains, and here's where they need to get a 20, 25-yard play, and that comes from the pass. And we'll see whether or not Joe Jarena or Johnny Goff comes in at quarterback. Jarena is a much better thrower.
Or they get a big return out of Rod Richardson, number 1, one of the premier returners in college football.
And in fact, respected highly enough that at the start of the game, Hunter Smith kicked away from him. We'll see whether or not he tries to send it deep in this occasion. Richardson stands at the 1 with Brandon Rooney and Grady Jett, his wings, 5 yards in front of him. What a wonderfully entertaining game this has been.
Had a little bit of everything. Including the ball falling off the tee.
There are times when you get so caught up as a fan in watching a game, you have to step back and say, these are 19, 20, 21-year-old kids. They're the leaders of tomorrow, but still pups playing a man's game. He sends it deep, really deep. Army with no chance. Touchback. Will take it at the 20-yard line.
Boy, that's a big play by Hunter Smith, number 17, and he knows it. I mean, now it gets much more difficult for Army.
So no time spent on the kickoff as it did not fall in play. And it will be Johnny Goff, the senior, and not the sophomore Jarena. There's Jarena, who is regarded as the more effective passer.
Goff has a strong arm. It is not terribly accurate, but it's a very strong arm.
He looks like one of those lanky left-handed relief pitchers that come in and really got a lot of action on the ball, not necessarily in the strike zone. Goff throws into the flat, and it's to Richardson, who takes it out for about 9, but doesn't get out of bounds.
Should have gotten out. That's an error.
Corey Minor made the tackle to keep him in the field of play, and no huddle. Goff will bring his team to the line of scrimmage with 49-48 seconds.
Too much time, taking way too much time. Way too much time.
This is part of the problem. This puts Army's offense in a situation which the wishbone is not designed to overcome. That stops the clock.
Yeah, but they wasted, I'm guessing, 12 seconds there, Dick. I mean, these are precious, precious seconds.
Now they really need a big play to get into field goal range. 36 seconds left. 3rd and 2. And here comes the call. Bob Sutton sends in the play. Clock at the 36-yard line with 30 seconds, but Army needs to line up ready to go.
Or Johnny Goff, I would just throw the ball into the dirt, get the clock stopped. They still have 2 timeouts, though.
From the 35-yard line, Army. They're ready to go as soon as the official winds it, and he does. To the sideline to Richardson, and he ducks out of bounds at the 40. Short gain, 21 seconds left.
And they need, what, 25, maybe 30 yards to give their kicker, Eric Olson, who has a real good leg, an opportunity. I
would think to entertain a reasonable chance because his longest ever is 41. They'd have to get at least to the 30-yard line, which would be 47-48. So we've looking at 30 yards.
Yeah, and you know, again, with the timeouts and the 21 seconds, they can do it, but they're going to have to take a chance downfield.
Notre Dame loosening that back line of their defense, looking for that as Goff fires incomplete. And it's every pass directed at their speediest player, Little Rod Richardson. He's not much of a target at 5'7" and 165 pounds. 16 seconds.
When they've thrown the ball this year with some success, which has been rare, a couple times they've gotten their halfbacks up the middle of the field. That time Bobby Williams came right down the gut and was open momentarily.
Now they break the bone with the 4 wide receivers. And Goff down the middle. Intercepted. And down with the ball for Notre Dame is Johnny Sanders. Sanders will seal the Notre Dame victory. It was Sanders who had a 25-yard interception for a touchdown in the Arizona State win.
And you know what, Dick, a really smart play going down after the interception. Don't risk a fumble that perhaps is returned. A really heads-up smart play by Johnny Sanders, number 5, down here at the bottom. Again, that's easy pickings for a free safety, just waiting for the overthrow.
Half the team were watching Rod Richardson. They went to him on every play, didn't they?
It was Tony Driver against Purdue that sealed the win, and this time Johnny Sanders.
So the kneel down for Jarius Jackson. Army will not spend a timeout. Boy, there's Congratulations, winners and losers. What a game. What a game this was. And Notre Dame prevails 20-17. Johnny Goff and this crew of cadets will go back to West Point. Boy, they carried the Army name proudly, didn't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, let's look at our Chevrolet players of the game. And with a career effort, Jim Sanson's 48-yard field goal wins it for Notre Dame. And Lyle Weaver, who from the opening bell was tenacious on that defensive side for Army. In recognition of their efforts, Chevrolet makes a contribution to the National Association of Student Financial Aid Administrators. It'll be dispersed to deserving college students so they may continue their education. The Chevrolet Scholarship Program has been a tradition for more than a quarter of a century. So Notre Dame goes 5-1 with a 2017 victory. Let's go to Jim Gray.
All right, thank you very much, Dick. I'm now joined by the head coach, Bob Davies.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Bob, what's your heart rate about right now?
Well, anytime you play the academies, I'll tell you one thing, our country's in great hands with the academies, because we knew what kind of football game this was going to be. The fact that the score is 2017 had nothing to do with us overlooking Army. I give all the credit to Army. They came out here and played.